Welcome, people. Well, a lot of people's been talking about this. Somebody swatted Castle, I guess, when they were doing their. Some people are calling it Timecast. It's on a channel, I think. Timcast versus Castle. So I don't know if there's two different channels, but I kind of tried to find some more information. I got these two videos. So let's take a look and talk about what exigency is and do I think this guy has a lawsuit. Just for this jump straight, I absolutely think this guy has a legit lawsuit. But we'll see. So in this video, someone swallowed the castle during a 10-pole live cast. And this is when I think Officer Tatum was on there. So you can tell the cop walks by here.
In a revolt or large-scale protest afterwards. And they actually announced a number of times.
Yeah, the cops just walked in.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
So you're in the middle of live and the cops walk in. Man, I mean, this guy has a lot of people in his house, so I'm sure he assumes that maybe somebody did it, and the cops weren't running through and doing what I would think they should be doing if it was an exigency.
Should we, yeah, that, I was looking at my notes and I was like,
did somebody swat you?
Yep, somebody swatted us.
Did they really?
Us?
Yep, somebody swatted us. So that's
How do you know?
what that
How do you
was.
know?
I have somebody texting me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so Tim's gonna go
Wow.
take care of
So,
business.
yeah, just a police officer
Just stroll
entered
it in.
here, looked around, because it looks like someone swatted this live broadcast here.
Glad they didn't come in here busting, man.
I'm
Yeah.
glad, yeah.
Okay, so Tatum says good thing they didn't come in here busting. What he means is, like, normally if you go in on an exigency with an armed person, you would be kicking doors, maybe flashbanging, ordering everybody on the ground, coming in force. It's called a hard dynamic entry. It's not a deliberate kind of, this is more of a casual walkthrough, which delegitimizes the exigency claim.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
So here's the cops in the house. Here's a guy can't stand around filming.
that's something that's extremely dangerous.
We got a call saying that 2 people were shot and another was threatening suicide.
Okay, so once they show up and know that nobody's shot, and the homeowner tells you they're not shot, the exigency ends. I can't bring a SWAT team to your house and go, I think I heard a woman scream. Let's go in the house and search for a screaming woman. You have to have more reason to think it's an exigency. And until the court steps in, they're not going to change this. But good agencies and good police officers wouldn't need the court to step in. These cops even say they think it's a swatting. They didn't verify who called it in. They didn't have a callback number. And I don't think officers should be able to act on an anonymous tip where it means they get to violate the Constitution. They get to violate a homeowner's rights. They have to put all the people in the home at risk. Any dogs, pets, people, maybe enter a house that people are armed and they don't know. I think cops ought to need a little bit more than an anonymous phone call. That's the problem with red flags laws, and that's the problem with these guys' entry.
Is this sealed off?
Yeah, it's an attic.
That's completely sealed or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so this other guy talking, I'm thinking they're being escorted and followed around. The thing that bothers me is if you have a call that 2 people are dead, you don't have cops walking around with their guns in their holster. I don't walk around a house with my gun in my holster if it ain't a shooting call. If it's a shooting call with dead bodies, my gun's out. I'm decked out. I got a long gun. I got partners. We're moving. We're clearing. We're announcing. We're ordering. There ain't none of this, what's up there? Hey, let's look around here. That's not how you clear something that the police department is claiming an emergency. And they had to act for public safety. That's bullshit.
As far as I know.
Or can you lift that?
I think they're still doing work on it. Like they put that down. I'm not sure what they're doing.
With the key,
But yeah, it's like they're
What's that?
working out
The room with the key. The roof is
It's none of your business what's up there. It's sealed off. There's no body. Get the hell out of my house. I mean, these guys should have been asked to leave earlier. And that's probably where the lawsuit gets weak, is once they were asked to leave, they left.
sealed. Okay. All right. So I need
steps, but it goes to like a roof/wall.
Okay.
This is not the way two cops walk with their gun in their holster, with his flashlight in his freaking gun hand, like a dumbass. This guy must work for the Highway Patrol or something. Anyway, he's got a freaking flashlight in his gun hand, and they're supposedly in a violent crisis situation where people are dead and somebody's threatening to shoot himself. I've seen cops pull their guns and shoot people with less information. And these guys are walking around like, yeah, let me just look over here.
There's a locked door in there.
See, there is a locked door in here.
Yeah.
Do you have a key for that door?
I don't, no.
Here you go. Excuse me.
Yep.
Now, if the cops are not searching every door because they don't have a key, then their whole excuse for public safety is diminished. So let me get this straight, officer. You entered this house without a warrant and without consent, using exigency, has a right to enter of an emergency of somebody being killed and shot, and yet you walked up to a door and said, do you have a key? And when he said no, you never cleared that door. How does that correlate with you were worried about someone and you entered and violated someone's sanctity of their home in order to go in and save life, yet you didn't even bother kicking a door that you supposedly were scared somebody might be dead in? Doesn't make sense. It's kind of bullshit.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, here's the problem, people. If these cops, while running around, let's say they see a machine gun behind the door. Let's see they see a bag of flour and they think it's dope. Let's see they see a pipe and they think they're marijuana growers. They can now leave, go do a probable cause statement, get a warrant, and come back and search the house. Because when a cop's where he's allowed to be, anything he sees, I mean, they could just seize it and grab it. But if they didn't want to, they can come back later with a warrant. So that's the problem with letting government roam around your house under pretense. Only 3 ways somebody gets into your house: consent, a warrant, or exigency. And exigency has to be an emergency. If there is no emergency and they don't have more than an anonymous call, you guys raise your hand if you think you called in that the police department had somebody shot and there was a dead body, that the police would immediately run in and search. Who thinks if you called in, hey, there's a dead woman under the chief's desk, you better go search? Who thinks they'd kick the chief's door down to go search under his desk in the name of public safety? Of course they wouldn't, because you have nothing more than an anonymous call that you don't even know who called it. There's no credibility. There's no validation to what this person is saying is true. They showed up with 10 cops outside, and they could have sat, they could have watched, they saw people walking around, they didn't hear gunshots, they didn't have anything to corroborate and to justify this warrantless search of this house. It's bullshit, in my opinion.
I'm not okay with you guys being here without a warrant, regardless of the circumstances. And I'd appreciate it if you would leave.
Okay, so this guy is pretty nice about it, nicer than I'd probably be. He's saying, oh, you came without a warrant, I want you to leave. Now, these cops could have been a dick. I think they were already a dick for coming in. But they could have been more of a dick by saying, we don't give a shit what you want. We're here until we clear the house, until we determine that somebody's not hurt. I don't give a shit what you want. Okay? So, I mean, look, I've gone in many houses under exigency. And if I go in there and I'm justified, ain't nobody telling me what I can and can't do while I'm in there. So, you know what? If I think you're destroying dope and we're outside and a guy runs in and goes, the cops, flush the dope, I'm kicking the door and I'm going in. And that's exigency. I'm preventing destruction. And nobody's going to say, hey, man, I'd appreciate it if you leave and go get a warrant. Shut the fuck up. I mean, that's the whole reason that and again, people, I didn't make the law. Don't come here hating on me, calling me a big jackboot. I'm just telling you what the law is. People get mad at me because I tell you what the law is. Get mad at the people that pass the law. Get mad at the courts that don't enforce it. Get mad at the Supreme Court that keeps watering down the Constitution. Don't get mad at me because I'm telling you what the law is. So anyway, he's nicer than I would have been.
We checked the entire house.
We just checked the upstairs. Did we get the whole... You were with us the whole time, sir. The whole...
Okay, so here's where I think the problem is. This guy just said, you were with us the whole time. Was there consent? Now, in a minute, a woman's going to say, I told them they need to come back with a warrant. That means they don't have consent. They're going to claim because we were escorted, and this is where statements and what people say and what was done, did anybody make it clear to these guys, you are not allowed to enter this presence. There's nothing going on here. Go get a warrant. And did they force? This is where you want to stand in your doorway and make them physically remove you. If you open the door, unlock the door, and follow them around, it's going to be easy for them to say, hey, we thought we had quasi-consent. We explained it. We weren't ordering people to the ground. We were letting them go around, but we just took a look around for public safety. That's bullshit. That's not the purpose of exigency. Exigency is to save life that's in immediate danger, or exigency is acting to where going and getting a warrant, somebody might die or evidence might be destroyed. Period. That's it. I mean, there's hot pursuit in the exigency thing, but that's a little bit different. But anyway, this is bullshit.
Do we go through the whole ground floor?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Okay.
I respect the attempt at keeping everybody safe and everything, but
Yeah, I don't like that. I respect you keeping everybody safe. I don't need you to keep me safe. If I didn't call 911, I don't want cops running around my freaking house. How about that? Go get a freaking warrant.
And that's, look, that is the only reason we were doing what we're doing. We wanted to make sure everybody here was okay.
Yeah, the only reason we're doing is make everything okay. Supreme Court said we don't have to act. Cops stand outside while kids are getting killed by an armed gunman. He never goes in. The Supreme Court said, nah, he doesn't need to go in. There's no duty to act. Woman calls and says, my husband's going to kill my kids. I have a restraining order. The cops go, we don't feel like we're going to go enforce that. Guy kills the kids, and the court rules, no duty to act. So when you start ruling cops have no duty to act, when they act on their own and it's wrong, they ought to be held accountable. But limited immunity covers them that. So that's the problem with our government. People are not holding our government accountable. The courts are not holding officers accountable. And that's why our Constitution is slowly getting watered down, stomped on, and burned up, and there's so much tyranny on the rise in this freaking country.
And, you know, we have to answer any other questions you have.
no, just would appreciate it if you guys would.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Look, I appreciate your time and your cooperation.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry for what they're doing. You know what I mean?
You're good, man.
Have a good one, dude.
Thank you.
Okay, you're good. Yeah, we came in like jackboots, violated your privacy, went through your house like a freaking bunch of stormtroopers, told everybody they have no choice. We got to walk around, do what we want, and now we're leaving, and somehow we're good guys. Bullshit. So there was a lot of cops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there was like 10. They show another video where there's like 10 cops. So the fact that they had so many cops, that's going to be their justification that we thought there was a legitimate threat. Look at the forces we massed up to come get here, and we, gathered. We had a good responding force because we really thought somebody was shot. The problem is, if you had time to get all these guys, why was it an exigency then? Why didn't you come in with 2 guys if you really wanted to save somebody? Oh, Rick, that's officer safety and they didn't want to get hurt. Bullshit. If it's a true exigency, you enter. If it's not, then you don't enter. The time it took them to amass all these officers and gather all these people was a long time. I would want dispatch logs, time logs, call logs, how long it took the officers to get out there, how many officers were out there, how long were they out there, and what the communication on the radio was. Because I'm telling you, these cops did not think that somebody was shot in there. They got all these people here, they reacted, and during the course of them gathering intel, watching people walk around, there was nobody screaming, there were no secondary calls, they didn't see any flashes, they didn't hear yelling. All that information, remember, totality of circumstances, everything these officers are hearing and seeing comes into play on their decision. So all this time, none of this was happening, and yet they still went in the house without a warrant. That is freaking bullshit, and I do not think a jury would rule any other way. But it is what it is.
All good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, man. Sorry for the bother.
A lot of cops.
Thank you for...
What the hell was going on when all these cops were getting here? What, do you think all these cops came at the same time? It's like they were all just right around the corner and you called them. Do you think these guys amassed like within a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes? So it was an exigency when the call came in. 20 minutes later, even if you believed it, your exigency diminishes. If it wasn't important enough for the first 2 or 3 officers to go in, like policy is for like an active shooter, why did you wait for all these officers and get them out there and observe that nothing corroborated the phone call, yet you still violated the consent or warrant rule and used exigency to get in the house? It's bullshit. Unlawful seizure, search and seizure. Unlawful search, and they seized the house when they went in.
Absolutely a swatting incident.
Yeah, it's a swatting.
Okay, so they've said the term swatting. Most people know what swatting is. That's where these idiots call the police. They create some emergency situation on somebody they don't like or they're pissed off at. It started with gamers, and they would game each other while they were playing games, and now it's evolved in whoever you hate, you just call in a false report. And cops are causing this to work because they act on false fake reports. If cops stopped reacting unless they had a callback number, unless they told the person, we need to know who you are. We need to know where you live. Are you next door? We need to know how you got. If you don't answer our questions, we can't act on this. I mean, it would have been very easy for dispatch they know this address. They know the phone number to this address. Dispatch or the sergeant could have said, phone the address and see if the homeowner's there, if he can answer the phone. If there's somebody in there killing and shooting people, probably nobody's going to answer the phone. Or if they do answer the phone, they're going to be irate or yelling, screw you, I'm going to kill people. So you get corroborated. My guess is nobody called this house. That's standard procedure when you have an unknown incident going on. You want to make contact with somebody in the house to corroborate. Okay? So, I mean, the cops, I don't think, did due diligence. I don't know what they did. This sounds very fishy and bullshit to me, and I think it's an unlawful search and seizure.
Yeah, they did, but they were trying to make...
Was Atlas okay? Yeah, I had to let him know that she was...
That's absolutely swatting
that's fine.
attempt. They were hoping it would go bad.
Yeah, it was swatting, but
Definitely.
it didn't.
Very much somebody trying to kill us.
So there's a lot of people in here, which again is a clue. If the cops show up and they see these people walking outside smoking, there's lights on in the house. Are you telling me none of these cops looked in an open window or looked in where the light was at to see what was going on? They stopped some dude, made him raise his hand in the yard.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. I was nervous.
You asked them for a warrant.
I did ask him for a warrant. The reason they could
Yeah,
come
we
in
asked
is
for
for
a warrant. They
this.
said we're going in anyway.
Okay, so right here, this statement is critical that they were not invited, they did not have consent, and they didn't have a warrant. If the cops literally said, and if they have body cam that says, we're going in anyway, this is absolute BS, and I don't buy it. Now, does that mean the court ain't going to buy it? No. Does that mean anybody else is going to agree with me? No. But it's bullshit with anybody with common sense and understanding of the law.
Exigent circumstance.
They said they're going in anyway. They don't have
It's
a
because of
warrant.
exigent circumstance. It's a real thing. They were real cool. It's just a slide.
Okay, so I don't know how forceful these people were. I would have preferred them saying, there is no exigency. There's no one hurt. We're filming. Somebody gave a false response. We want to know who called or what corroborating information you have to prove that there's an exigency in here. Because an anonymous call, and now they got another video to where the cops are saying, we're trying to track down who called now. Well, you know what? You shouldn't have went. If you got time to get 10 officers there and you still can't find out who called, I mean, we call that a clue in law enforcement. Maybe it's fake. Maybe we don't need to kick a door and enter a house with force, and make no doubt about it. When they entered this house, they used force. They said, you don't have a choice, we're coming in. That is using force. It's bullshit.
Regardless, a crime. Good job.
Thank you.
I just walked out of the room. The cops walked in. They walked around with flashlights. We've been swatted. I am extremely unhappy with this because I can't necessarily be mad at the officers. They were very polite, but I do not like cops coming into my house when we have mats all over the place. They come back with a warrant.
Yeah.
And I don't know who let them in or why.
Yeah, what happened?
Okay, so here's what I think legally wise, and you guys can check with all the lawyer people that you listen to and pose this question. I think once you're swatted, that is justification for you to file either some sort of writ or exigency excuse order to, a lot of times they'll call it filing an order to show cause, and you make government prove, or you make another entity prove what they're going. And we would call it in California, go file an order to show cause. I think these people could do something with the PD if you get an attorney and say, you entered unlawfully. In the future, unless you have clear and convincing evidence that there is an exigency, you will not come on this property without calling these people first. And you can make the government put that in your call log. You can let them know. You can serve them with papers. And if a judge agrees to it, then they have to apply. My guess is nobody has tried that, or every liberal judge has shot it down because they don't want to take away government's authority. But this shit happens once. People could have died. People could have got shot. They could have fired on the cops and got killed. This is a really, really bad situation. And to prevent it from happening, since cops aren't smart enough to do their due diligence, I think they can get either a temporary or a restraining order on the PD, barring them from entering without a search warrant in the future. Exigency is no longer a thing. Now, they can't get them to sign away like a hot pursuit. You can't have criminals running in the house saying, hey, we got a court order, we can't do exigency. But any other phone calls, non-corroborated information without a reporting party, a location, and some other corroborating information, you are not allowed to enter this house without a warrant. I think an attorney could draft it up. I think it would fly if you got the right judge. I think any judge that supports the Constitution would agree that this is bullshit.
I understand they're here because we got swatted. A report was made that 2 people had been shot and killed, and that the gunman was threatening to hurt themselves. They didn't say.
So normally when you have a barricaded suspect, a dead body, and somebody's inside, you try and make contact. Either over the loudspeaker or you call and see if they'll answer the phone. Hey, is anybody there? I would have had no problem if the cops called in and said, hey, we need a homeowner to come out of the house and talk to us. We've got the house surrounded. We want to make sure you're okay. Just like we would do if there was a domestic. If there's a domestic and the guy's at the door saying you can't come in. I don't want you to come in. Is your wife here? Yeah, but she doesn't want to see you and you can't come in. We got to see her before we can leave. If you don't let us in, we're coming in. You don't have a warrant. I don't need a warrant. It's exigency. We got to report that she was hurt. We know she's here. You're not letting us in unless you have her step out. We give them an option. Unless you have her step out and talk to us out of your presence, we're coming in and we're going to talk to her out of your presence. Those are your options. Now, that's an exigency, and that's what the court intended when they gave cops this power to ignore the Constitution and to circumvent the consent and warrant requirement.
Send a SWAT team. It was just a couple of officers. I don't want to drag them or be mean to them because they were polite.
I don't care if they're polite. What, when somebody's stomping on your neck, if they're polite, you're okay with it? If they would have killed your dog or killed your wife, but they were polite, it would be, and I'm not cracking on this guy. I know he's trying to be a nice guy. I mean, he seems like a nice guy and everything. And I mean, I don't know this guy, but a lot of my viewers watch him because I've got a lot of people telling me that they did this to him. And he seems like I like him just because he said, come back with a warrant. So he's anti-government in my book. And I like anti-government people because that's the only way government's held accountable.
But I'm not happy with the idea that they're walking into our studio while we are live. They're walking around. Cop immediately, I walked out of the room. He immediately came up and said, I'm really, really sorry about this. We're not trying to, screw with you or ruin what you're doing. Here's what happened. We got a call. 2 people had been shot and killed, and a person was going to be killing themselves. We have to check it out, make sure everything's okay. We're going to be doing a sweep.
You don't have to check it out, and you don't need to do a sweep. You can go get a warrant. How long were you out there? Do you see anything that looks like a crisis? Do you see blood? I am the homeowner. I'm telling you there's no emergency. If all you have is an anonymous phone call, tell me who called and what they said and prove that it's legitimate. I'm not going to have some cop, and this is exactly what can happen, some cop can go get a burner phone and then he can call 911 and get in the house. We used to do that shit for cops. I didn't do it, but we heard stories of cops doing it. They would go to a payphone and make phone calls as an anonymous person to get cops to go to the house. so we know they were doing drugs, so we want to get in the house. So a cop would go to a payphone and call 911 from a payphone and go, hey, I thought I heard a woman screaming she needs help. So the cops would show up. When they knock on the door, the task force would brief the cop, hey, we're trying to get in there. We think they're drugs. Look for smell of drugs. Look to see if you can see anything that can get us probable cause. See if they answer. See if they run. See if you think they're destroying. So we get them to the door because of an anonymous call. And then the courts came out that cops can't act on an anonymous call. And I don't know what happened to that. Because after the courts found out cops were doing that, they put a kibosh on it and go, no. You can't just be acting on an anonymous call. I can't go to court and get a judge to give me a warrant on an anonymous call. If some guy calls and says, hey, there's a guy with a big meth lab and he's got dead bodies in the house, judge ain't gonna give me a warrant for that. I got no corroborating evidence. So what do they use? They use exigency, and it's being abused. Like all powers that government it gets abused. Secret courts, secret hearings, secret judges, secret exigency circumstances, secret ways to avoid the Constitution, exceptions to the Constitution.
Once we figured out, and I'm just like, come back with a warrant.
You called me because there were a bunch of cops out here. It's like, oh. They're like,
well, I actually was like, let me just go up there. And they were like, no, you got to stay here. I was like, okay.
Okay, so that's good when they said, no, you have to stay here. That means they're detaining her. They have taken control of her, and now they're using force again. They don't have to touch you to use force. When I start interfering with your free movement, especially in your own house, when I enter your house without a warrant, we got issues.
I could answer because I know sometimes you don't. And I was like,
did they tell you what they thought?
And I was like, shoot, because I just knew you might not answer. So I was like, and they stopped me. They're like, we didn't ask you to go out there. I was like,
a lot of cops.
All right, no problem.
So is this her escorting them in? Is this her that went out and met them and now they're coming? None of these guys look like there's a dead body shooting. I mean, this is the exhibits in court that you would be using, saying there was no exigency. These guys aren't scared. Their gun aren't even out. They're not worried about anybody. This was a ruse, and it could have been a cop. If they don't find out who did it, I would absolutely say this was a cop that wanted to get the police in here, and I think it was the cop that did it. Prove me wrong. Well, we don't have to prove you wrong. Oh, but you can just take anonymous phone calls and enter and violate the Constitution with no corroborating evidence. Total bullshit.
As they walked up to me, they were like, we got a call that someone was what?
Here's a guy with his hands in his pocket. Does that look like an emergency? Does that look like he thinks somebody's dead and there's a guy in there with a gun? Not no, but hell no.
I know, I felt bad because I was like,
I was watching these, and like I thought maybe hands up, sir.
So now we got guys outside the house with their hands up that cops are talking to them. Again, parking with your lights on. Does that look like the way you would respond if you think there's a gunman in there and he killed 2 people and now he's starting to kill himself? Is this how you would park? There's so many things just in a little footage I've seen that does not corroborate or does not support that these officers were worried and were scared of anything or anybody. Total bullshit in my book. All right, we'll end that there. I'll be happy to go talk to these guys or go over more footage with them or help them if I can. Y'all let them know. All right, we'll end that there.